Dana, going into this card, can you talk a little bit about where you think BJ fits in, kind of the pantheon of fighters? Is he just below the top two or top handful? Where do you see him now?
I said to him earlier today, without sounding goofy or condescending, I said, I'm so proud of you, man. It's unbelievable what he's done in the last year. And I don't know if all you guys saw the Countdown show, but wow. I mean, this kid has completely changed his life, and his training regimen is sicker than anybody's I've ever seen in the UFC. And, this kid's been coasting on talent for 10 years, and now he's doing the right thing, and I'm proud of him.
He still talks about GSP. Do you think he's got that out of his system?
No, I don't think he has, and I think if he cleans out this division, I think he's probably going to want to go back to 170 and take a run at that again. And I think he's a different human being now than he was last time they fought.
So you would sanction that if he got...
I don't know. I'm not saying that. He'd have to fight. You don't just abandon your title, move up to 170 and fight GSP with the way you lost to him last time. He'd have to fight a couple of top contenders at 170, and maybe.
Is that your thinking and what you're talking about, depending on who wins, what direction you go in?
Yeah, well, there's off the top of my head I don't know, but there's probably a couple other guys here that deserve a shot at BJ before he took off. So
Frankie Edgar, Gray Maynard, those kind of.
Yeah, there's probably a couple more here, and then I would consider him cleaning out of his division.
You kept saying that you were going to sit down and talk with Chuck and figure out his future, and now we know what that is. What was that discussion like? Did you go in thinking that that was on the table?
No. I wanted him to retire, and it just went back and forth for so long. And what he said to me is, he said, how about I take some time off? Let me take some time off. He did this Dancing with the Stars thing, and he had fun with it. I was happy with how aggressively he went after it and really trained, and we've made some other deals, personal deals between me and him for this season of The Ultimate Fighter, and we'll let those two go at it again. Listen, at the end of the day, they're both great coaches, and Tito was a great coach in season 3 of The Ultimate Fighter, really good coach, and Chuck's a great coach, so I think they have a lot to bring to some up and coming guys, and then they'll fight again, and we'll figure out.
Why Chuck and not Forrest, though? Because that was the fight that seemed like people wanted it. See the rematch between Forrest and Tito, and so why did you go
Forrest and Tito to?
Tito had actually at the press conference.
Because Forrest beat Tito. Forrest will move on and fight again now. Forrest will move on and take another fight at 205. He just coached. Forrest just coached for me with Rampage not too long ago, and we'll let Chuck and Tito do it.
Did you just see one fight for Chuck? Then he's going to do that fight?
Yeah, that's my plan. He does one fight and then he retires. Win, lose, or draw. We'll see what happens when it happens.
You expect him to stick to it again?
Yeah, we'll see.
How do you feel about that? Because you kind of sound like you're not 100%.
I'm not thrilled with it. It's not my. It's not what I wanted. But like I said, I'm not his father. I'm not his. I'm not his dad. I don't. We'll see what happens after the Tito fight. I would like to see him hanging up after the Tito fight.
You've had dealings with Diego. What is he like? Is he bizarre?
No, Diego's a great kid. Listen, Diego's one of those motivational guys, man. He gets into that motivational stuff. He's into yoga. He's a very positive person. I don't know if I'd call him weird at all. He's just a highly motivated guy. He's into all that. He's into Tony Robbins and all that stuff. I think it's cool. Good for him, man. I wish more guys around here were fucking motivated. I had to send them to hang out with Diego.
In relation to one more question about Chuck, given he's been knocked out bad and everything, and on all the, you haven't had a major injury or anything, and I know on a personal level, if Chuck got hurt, it would really hurt you personally, but what about the sport and everything you've built? If a guy that had been knocked out so hard so many times comes back and gets injured on a fight that would be viewed by millions of people, how far back would that set the sport? Does that concern you?
No, listen, all the stuff, the reason that Chuck can even still compete is because he's healthy. He's been checked out, he's had the CAT scans and all the other stuff. He's healthy, he can fight. My thing is me and Chuck have been together since the beginning of this thing, And for a promoter and a fighter to have the relationship that we've had for as long as we've had it, and he became such a huge superstar and everything else, and we've had this great relationship. And the reality is I love this guy. I care about him personally. And my question is, why? What for? You've already achieved everything. You've beat the who's who of the sport. You've had the world title. You're as famous as anybody could possibly be. You've made shitloads of money. What left? What else is there? And it's always like, it's when you've had, even back in my boxing days, you had this guy who was your hero when he was fighting, and then, you get to an age, we all get old, man. We all get old. And it's hard to deal with for some professional athletes. And then you see your guy, he just keeps losing and losing and losing. You're like, fuck, I wish he would have retired years ago.
That second aspect, though, it could hurt the entire sport.
If I thought Chuck was at a point where, he physically couldn't compete anymore because he's got a brain injury or something's wrong, there's no way in hell he would be fighting. You know what I mean?
Those concussions that they have in the NFL, the issue where they're saying the multiple concussion syndrome and everything.
Yep.
Don't you think he's at least...
Absolutely. I think every fighter, anybody who gets hit in the head for a living, is susceptible to that.
But I'm saying, given that he's had so many in a row, that wouldn't that make him even more vulnerable?
He's definitely susceptible.
Ryan Westbrook is more vulnerable than some other running back because he's had so many.
Any guy in the sport is susceptible to that, and that's a life decision people make. You know what I mean? Listen, we all get banged up in different things we do and everything else. This is what these guys choose to do for a living. And if there was a situation where Chuck wasn't right to fight, Chuck wouldn't be fighting. He's right to fight. He can still fight. I just don't want him to do it. The only thing wrong with Chuck is, right now, Chuck's too old. Chuck hasn't lived the Randy Couture lifestyle, okay? Chuck's lifestyle, Randy's is here, Chuck's is way over there. And I think you all know what I'm talking about. He's had a much different lifestyle than Randy.
Dana, can you give us an update on Anderson Silva? What the plan is for him and Vitor? Is that the matchup, and is it just a matter of him getting healthy?
That's the fight. Yeah, that's going to be the fight, and I think it's going to be in April.
No jumping off Adelaide then?
Yeah, I still got to do that. The weather sucks in Las Vegas right now, and I told Kevin before. Kevin's usually the one busting my balls about that one. Now you're on that. I've actually been working on it. I've been training for it. I'm going to do it.
Have they said that they'll let you do it?
Huh?
Have they said that
No, they don't want me to do it.
What's the training for that? Screaming like a little girl?
No, you have to. I've been training with one of the best base jumpers in the United States.
Off something?
I've been goofing around with it. Yeah. So, yeah. No.
So when you do it, you're going to try and do it on